So I guess somebody blew up the Georgia Guidestones. If you've never heard of these things before now, imagine if the World Economic Forum commissioned Gene Roddenberry to make a brutalist Stonehenge, and you've basically got the point. These are like these flat slabs of, I'm not even sure what they're were made out of before somebody took an explosive to them. But I just wanted to read because I'm actually kind of fascinated by the things that are written on them. And these were in all sorts of different languages. So I guess a kind of globalist, coexist, come together vibe, And it really does feel like if the creators of Star Trek tried to build a monument to like the gods or something. And here it is. Principle number one is maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. So right off the bat, it's like it's really weird and creepy when people not only suggest like suppressing the population, but they have a very specific number in mind. Like Malthus called and he wants his philosophy back. Guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. This is like I saw somebody tweet out, eugenics gets a bad rap, but lots of very well-meaning people are actually thinking about, who can reproduce and how and in what ways. It's like these people have never heard of anything. This is like somebody called them the never heard of anything brigade. And it's like, wow, if you like that, if you're into that, wait till I tell you about some of the other fun stuff that ethical and well-meaning people have gotten up to in history. Like if you crack a single history book, you will realize that when you begin with eugenics get a bad rap, but like you ain't the good guys. That meme where it's like, are we the baddies? Like that's what this is. Guide reproduction wisely. Yes, this is always an excellent idea. And this is not going away, by the way. These things, one of the reasons this is interesting is like these things are not it's fringe minority views, or at least they may be fringe minority views, but the fringe minority that holds these views has a lot of power. That's why I mentioned the World Economic Forum, right? This kind of weird like seat of all the CEOs and tech magnates coming together to decide how our lives are going to go best, right? Here's number three: unite humanity with a living new language. It's amazing to me how bad these ideas are. Like, again, do people not know that these have failed and failed, these concepts? Like, remember Esperanto? Does anybody remember Esperanto? These things just vanish down the memory hole. But like, you can't invent a language. The whole point of languages is that they arise organically out of the culture and the place and the traditions and the time. I mean, that's what's so beautiful about English, right? And what's so funny is that, those things that I just listed, culture, place, tradition, time, like those are exactly the things that these like lizard people are blind to. They have no idea that those things would actually matter and not just be obstacles for surpassing. Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. Another idea that has a great history, right? This is a really successful notion that we can suppress passion, faith, and tradition with tempered reason, right? Like, again, the French Revolution called and they want their massacre back. Like, this is so primitive, this stuff. Really, it is just like very, very basic, and these people never learn. So we could go on reading these. There's 10 of them. You can look them up, but I think you get the point. I just feel like, I don't support blowing monuments up, and I would never advocate that you go and do that. But I would like to know, like, who was the person that did this, and why did they feel like these were the objects that needed blowing up? And my feeling throughout, as I think I said on another video, you guys can go check out, like, when you construct your politics around neurosis, around ideas that are truly insane, that like no sane or healthy human being can hold in his mind. Like no sane or healthy natural human being can like wake up in the morning and think, I'm going to repress tradition with tempered reason this morning, And so when you talk that way, in this sort of Star Trek, like unite the globe, go out into space, like when you talk in these ways, like you create an entire society that is based upon people repressing and denying their sort of natural impulses. It's natural to love your country. It's natural to love your family and to respect the traditions that you were raised with. Like these aren't evil, and they're not some sort of primitive, like, childhood fantasy of man that we must advance beyond and toward the grand enlightenment. Like there are some absolutes past which we never advance, and from which any deviation represents a regression, represents primitivism. And so to have people just like insisting, like, we are the good guys, we are the future, we are the smart people, we believe in reason, and then to say these absolutely batshit things, like these totally wackadoodle crazy things, it makes people insane. And so the fact that we're seeing all of this political violence, the fact that like people are blowing monuments up, is actually not totally shocking when you think about the fact that like there's going to be a certain number of crazy people in any society. Like craziness exists. But when your society itself is designed to like intensify craziness and to put it in this feedback loop with itself, like, of course you're going to get neurosis sort of exponentially increasing. Of course you're going to get people doing desperate and insane and evil things. And so like I don't celebrate the explosion of these monuments, but when I read what's written on them, I feel like, well, at least I know why this is happening. These sorts of things are easy to understand if you know any history or any philosophy. And again, like it's not rocket science. You don't have to know a ton. You don't know everything. But this is why this YouTube channel exists. I mean, go check out the other videos. We're talking about this stuff all the time. The French Revolution, the so-called triumph of reason, like rationalism. Edmund Burke had like great answers to this already in the 18th century. So, we don't have to fumble around in the dark about this. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every 5 seconds. Like we've been through this before. We've been over this, and like you can learn about it. It's not that hard. Like people wrote about it for you so that you, that is the generations of posterity, could like incorporate that wisdom and take it forward into the modern day and recognize when people come to you telling you things like rule, passion, faith, tradition, and all things, tempered reason, like so that you could recognize that that's like, those guys aren't your friends. So that's what this whole channel is for. Check out some of the episodes that we did on Edmund Burke and the French Revolution and rationalism, the reasons of the heart. All of that is like, I think, a really helpful corrective to this sort of thing, because it's very much still with us. It still represents itself in the tones of, enlightenment and wisdom. And it always trends to destruction. So do check it out. I hope you'll take a look at some of our other videos.